Hi, welcome to Laura's View and Tarot 2. I am so glad you're here. Today's date is Sunday, April 27th, 2025. In this video, we're going to take a quick look at any possible embedded or coded communications that might be discerned from looking at what President Trump chose to wear to the Pope's funeral this week. Let me take you to a quick image, and you can see what he wore, or look at the thumbnail that I chose for this video, and then we'll see what significance this attire might have. As you'll be able to see, President Trump chose to wear a very dark blue suit with a dark blue tie to the Pope's funeral. And it created quite a stir. There were some that said this was disrespectful, his choice, and others. There's been a small contingent that said, hey, you know what he was saying with that suit? And that's what we want to look at. Now, first of all, let's look at the disrespect angle just to kind of lay that rumor to rest. I asked for to find out what the exact wording was on the invitation to the Pope's funeral. And the dress code for the funeral said that for men, dark suit with a long black tie and a button of the same color on the left lapel of the jacket, where only Vatican honors can be placed. For women, a black dress, preferably long, of the same color as gloves and veil on the head, with the only allowed ornament being a string of pearls. And as you noticed, our First Lady was wearing black in accordance with that. Now, Trump, by choosing to wear a dark blue suit, did not violate any dress codes. However, it did talk about having a long black tie, and he chose to wear blue. So there was a little bit of non-compliance going on with his, but I don't think enough to be make it justified to say that he was being disrespectful. I think there was communication going on. And what my alt media chatter seems to contend with that that attire was that his blue suit was seen as a rejection of Vatican-imposed norms and a declaration of his authority as a sovereign leader, unbound by Catholic or globalist traditions. In other words, that it was a Comm saying, just declaring, intentionally asserting authority, and a rebirth and sovereignty. So I want to ask if alt media is on the right track by saying that what that wardrobe choice was speaking of had more to do with declaring sovereignty, and that this was not a mournful event, for those that know what they know, and plus additional insights and information the universe might want to share with us. So I'm going to switch the camera. You can watch me work at the cards, and we'll find out together. Again, the yes or no element is there truth in that alt media speculation or assertion that Trump's wardrobe choice was speaking of sovereignty, and that this wasn't an occasion, yes, for respect, because there is mourning going on around him, but was he kind of declaring some sovereignty and rebirth and autonomy with his wardrobe attire, plus additional insights and information? Okay, so a yes or no element. This will be a Kachina knife spread with potentially 2 or even 4 additional cards, just depending on if there's some further insights that might be gleaned. And again, our question is the alt media assertion that his wardrobe choice was a coded communication more relevant to sovereignty, rebirth, and independence, plus additional insights and information? Okay, our first card is the Four of Wands. Then we have the Nine of Swords, Two of Cups, King of Wands, Six of Pentacles, Five of Pentacles, and the Six of Cups. So far we've got some elements saying, there's some truth in that, but we didn't get a hard yes yet. We didn't get a no either. First of all, because the whole situation is involved with the Four of wands, which is indicating stability and teamwork. And there's where we're getting kind of a soft yes right there that that was true. And the nine of I'm seeing a little humor involved with this, with the clarifier being the nine of swords. This card always says, hey, there's just not as much to worry about as you think there is. So again, just saying, we're not going to concern ourselves with globalist decrees and what have you. We're not concerning ourselves with those anymore. We're on a path of stability and um, progress that's human-centered. I see that also in the recent past card with the Two of Cups, which again talks about some agreements and those that made kind of with a balance. So it was an emotional time for those who aren't awake, really mourned that, or who are awake and knew that it was the end of an era. It was a time, but we got the leadership card with some vision going on here. Look, and the King of Wands is looking towards this card with the Four of Wands again, saying, leadership says we need to move on. We need to do some course corrections for our world, for our country. And that's what's really going on here. That's what's involved. Now let's look at the near future because we asked for just some additional insights and information that might be relevant to our question, the topic again. And I'm finding this interesting that we have pentacles showing up here in this read when we're just simply asking about the communications involved with the wardrobe attire. Again, with that sovereignty, what I think is saying is by declaring that sovereignty, that leadership, there is going to be some benefit, some generosity that's bestowed on us. And President Trump is saying, I don't care if it seems for a time that the United States is going at a path that's not conventional and not expected. It's worth it because it's going to be one that involves some reconciliation of, the American people and the people of the world on a path that's more light-filled and human-centered. Definitely need that. The Hierophant, that's a good card to show up when you're asking about the Pope's funeral because that's all about traditional values and church teachings, and there is some wisdom there, but it's very structured and rigid. The World card says, that this actually was an event that the world is better for this marker being done. I personally don't think that the Pope that passed away on the date we're told it was. I think it has happened sometime in the past. I have personally no doubts about that, and the cards seem to confirm this. We have the Lovers card showing up again. Lots of cards saying, in the near future, good things are coming. There's partnership. There's going to be more balance, more consideration of needs going on, and there's actually a pleasant surprise headed the way of humanity in general. I'm not getting that this is U.S. focused. We were asking, was there communication involved? And yeah, there was, but it's actually a message that's available and pertinent and relevant to the entire world. I'm not getting that it's U.S. focused. So yeah, it was communication. And it's one that, and it was a declaration of, I'll go my own way. If we need to, if we seem to be walking a path that's unconventional, it's okay, it's worth it, and it's worth it because of the little ones. And it's one that's going to be very much honored by the universe. Okay, that's a victory card. And it landed on top of this one. So yeah, post-funeral, post-papal influence and control, good things are headed our way. So let's recap. When President Trump and Melania, his wife, attended the funeral for the Pope, there was some outcry that President Trump chose to wear a very dark blue suit and blue tie. We looked at what had actually been suggested for the dress code, and men were asked to wear a dark suit. So he actually was in compliance with his suit, although they did mention a black tie and he wore blue. Now, there is alt media chatter that this was a coded communication. It was a declaration, as it were, because while we're also told that symbolism will be their downfall, it's also a communication method. It's a powerful one. It's one the white hats have learned to employ. So we asked, is it true that this was a communication? We got a nod to, yeah. This the choice of the blue definitely had something, a declaration of sovereignty, of just a quiet assertion that this isn't actually a time of mourning for me or the people I represent, and a rejection of some of the globalist norms and expectations, which we've come to expect that from President Trump always. So we asked the universe about that. Was it true, and additional insights and information? Okay, well, we got that um, this was very much uh, an event, a code of communication, and it was one that was just declaring that, we're going our way. There's a stability to our plan that is unfolding. The clarifier said, and we reject the fact that we're being told there's this much to worry about. The few things that we're addressing it. We're dealing with it. The near future card showed that there's going to be, as a result of this willingness to walk a path that is not conventional, that isn't falling into line with the one world government wishes, globalist agenda, etc. There's a reason for it. First of all, we're going to be glad that it did. There's some generosity headed our way. And as always, what is paramount is human life and innocent life being protected. And this is going to be, the United States is going to be continuing to take measures and steps towards that very real and needed goal. The world card showed up saying, post this papal position, the world is going to be in a much better place, that good things are coming. There is going to be more consideration made for the needs and um, the needs of regular humans is going to be, and there's actually some nice surprises headed our way too as this all unfolds. So yeah, it was a deliberate wardrobe choice. It was a communication. It was a very coded one that spoke of sovereignty and a rejection of some globalist expectations, and those in the alt media community picked up on that. Kudos to you. You were right on target. So that's it for this video. I thank you so much for your time, your attention, and your viewership. I don't take you for granted. If you're willing to receive it, I would love to send you love and light and everything bright. Until next time, bye.